Hello everyone, I hope you're keeping well. We're back again to complete the sleeve we started. We're at the stage where we've slashed here and we've opened out, and this is what we got because we're allowing for the cawl in there. So we've slashed it, we've marked it all out as it was before. We put our slash line in for where we want the cawl to be, and we've traced off underneath the other one. I just want to lay this one on top so that you can get the idea. What we've done is we've slashed it all out, right out, so it's opened out like that on that side. So that's the new piece underneath, and we open up so that we can get the cawl, and then we marked around the pattern piece, as you can see, all around. And now we're up to that stage and I've cut it out, and as you can see, this is the top area and this is where the cawl is going to be. And now we're going to create the pleats or the fold on the cuff on the bottom of the sleeve to go into the cuff. So what I've done here is I've put two lines on, one either side of the grain line like that, and I'm going to slash and open out for my pleat. I've worked out, you have to work out how many pleats you're going to put in and how deep you want the pleats. So I've worked out already the amount that I need for my pleats. I'm going to put a grain line on my paper. You need a new sheet of paper, your pencil, pen, and your scissors. And I've worked out how many pleats I want. I'm going to put 3 pleats on this cuff. So first of all, I'm going to place that piece of pattern piece now on my new sheet of paper, and I've put it on that straight line that I have marked. So I'm just going to secure it a bit there on the paper. And as I said, you have to work out the amount of how many pleats you want in your cuff and how deep you want the pleats. So once you've got that in your head, or you write it down, it's best to write it on a bit of paper so you know. So for example, I'm going to put 3 pleats on these cuffs, and I want them to be going towards the back of the sleeve. So once I've established that in my head, or once you've established that in your head and you know exactly what you want, the depth of the pleat I want is to be 3/4 of an inch deep. So you can work out what that is in centimeters. And so because I want it to be that deep, I've got to double that. So if I want it to be 3/4, I've got to make my pleat 1.5 inches. So because I'm having 3 pleats, I want 3.5 inches. So that was going to bring me to 4.5 inches, 3 pleats. So I've got to open out this bottom area 4.5 inches. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slash up on that line just to show you how we go about this. So I'm going to go up here like this. I'm not going to cut it right through. And I'm going to cut up on that line as well. And I'm not going to take it right through. Just leave a little bit dangling there. And first of all, I'm going to open out these pieces. Can you see that? As they open out, I'm going to open them out. And I want it to be 2.5 inches in there. So I'm going to measure that 2.5. And I'm going to apply that between there as you open out. So you measure out 2.5 in there. And once you've got that, you secure it, your 2.5 inches out, and you secure it again once, whether with a bit of tape. I'm just going to stick the edge with a little bit of prick stick. And then I'll go on the other side. I'm going to apply my 2.5 there. Right. And I'll bring that into there. So we've got the same amount in there as the same amount in there, 2.5. So this amount is depending on how much you want to put into your pleats. So as I said, I want my pleat to be finished at 3/4 of an inch deep. So I've got to allow 1.5 inches. So because I'm going to have 3 pleats on the bottom, I need 3.5 inches, which brings me to 4.5 inches. So because I've only slashed up 2 lines, I need 2.25 and 2.25, and that will give me my 4.5 inches to allow for my pleat. Once you've got that, we then copy off or trace off this section along the bottom, the pieces here and the pieces here, and we're going to go up at the side. If you notice, when we slash and open out, I'll bring that back here, you see we've got a curve there. I've kept that curve line so that you can see, and the same thing on this side. I've kept, when you open out, you get a curve, but what I've done, I've drawn a straight line there for the moment. I've left the curve. So you just go up on that straight line. Let's go to the straight line for the moment, and I'm going to go around this shape here. This is the head of the sleeve at the back, and this is the head of the sleeve around this section here at the front, and I'm going to go down this straight line here, and I'm going to put a little mark here and a little mark here. So as you can see, the shape at the top has changed shape. It's not straight anymore, but I want that line to be straight. So I just put a little mark at the top, a little mark at the bottom, at the other end here. I'm going to put my notches in to indicate, to tell me that that is my back and this is my front section. Once I've got that, you can take this off your paper like that. Take it off. I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to straighten up this line at the top from that point to that point, because I want a straight line always at the top. So once I've got that, I'm going to now connect up this shape at the bottom here to match with that, to come to that one and come to that one like that. And I'm just going to just make a line straight to there. That's going to be my underarm seam, and I'm going to straighten this one up. You notice I'm not using the curved line anymore. So once I've got that on my new sheet of paper, I'm then going to create my pleats. So I want the pleats to go towards the back. So I've put a little indication to tell me that's the back of my sleeve along there. So I'm going to decide on how deep, which I've already done. So I know the depth of my pleats are going to be 1.5 inches, because I want, when it's finished, it's folded over, underneath it will be 3/4. So what I've done is I'm going to start to work it from my back towards the front, but the pleats, I need them to go towards the back. So what I'm going to do is to decide on how far I want it to start from my front here, and that will be a good way. You can do it from the back as well, but let's start it from the front. Right, so I want it to be like, say, a good 2 inches from my underarm. So I'm just going to put a mark there. So that's where I want my sleeve to be, my pleats to start from, going towards the back. So I'm going to measure my 1.5 inches. So the depth of my pleat is going to start there, and I want 1.5 inches. So I'm going to put my pleat, and I want the space in between the pleat to be 1.25. So we're just going to make a 1.25, and then 1.5 again, and we make another pleat, and then we go 1 1/4. So that's the first pleat that we've got there, and that's the second pleat that we've got there, and we need a third pleat, which is 1 that's the other pleat here that we have. And then once we've got that, we're going to fold our, so the space that we got is 1 space, 1 pleat, 1 space, and 1 pleat. And then we're going to make from the back of the sleeve, we're going to make a slit, because we want to have a split where we put the cuff and opening. So we're just going to make a line going up there about a inch and 2.5 inches splits up, or 3 inches, depend on you. So once you've got that, so that you've got your pleat, 1, 2, 3 pleats. So what we're going to do, we're going to fold over on those pleats before we cut out, so that we know the shape is right. So I'm going to cut away some of this, some of the paper from your here, so that we can fold, see how we fold the pleat. So we want the pleats to be folded towards the back section. We don't want them to come towards the front. So from that first pleat, we're going to just to nothing, we're going to fold it over to that one, like that. So if you can see underneath, we've got a 3/4 inch here, so that's the depth of the pleat, and it comes over to the 1.5 inch mark. So that's your first pleat there. So once you got that, you can put a pin on it, put a pin in it, or you can put your prick stick to hold it a little bit so that you can see. So I'll just do that. And then the next thing, you'll have your space, which is there, and then we're going to do the other pleat. So if you fold onto the next pleat, which is here, like that, from there, make sure when you're doing this, it's good to have a nice soft paper. This one is a bit firm. So if you had a soft paper, it'll help a bit better. So you fold on your pleats. Just going to make sure we've got that going right. If you can see on those mark, we fold over on the pleats because we're going towards the back. Right, so that is your pleat. Don't worry about that bit that's sticking up there. This, you've got to concentrate on the bottom pleat. So now, if you can see, we've got 1 pleat here, 1 pleat here, which you've marked on. So we're going to have a space again, 1.25 inch space we want, and then we're going to fold on the other pleat from there, like that. Just let that go, and we're going to fold it back. Make sure it's lining up straight. Then we fold back on that line as well, so that comes to that. So now you've got your pleats in there. You can see them starting to form. So that's your pleats along there and along there. So we've got the 3 pleats in there now, and we've got the opening here, because when your cuff go on, it opens out and it buttons over when it's joined onto the side. So once we've got that, what I like to do is I like to mark on with the tracing wheel this section that we've got here, so that we've got a smooth running line. So what I do is you've got to smooth this line over till it comes back to there. Can you see that, what I've just done? So while the pleats are folded out, you do that. And then what I do is at the same time, while they're out, if you sellotape them or you pin them, I then now add my seam allowance, which is I want a centimetre seam at the bottom to attach my cuff on there. So I just add the centimetre along there, and while it's folded, I also marked with the tracing wheel so that it comes through on there. The reason I do that, so that we can get, when we do the pleats before we machine them, we get a good run on our pattern piece before we mark them out. So I'm just going to put a little mark there so that you can see them when I've opened out. You can see where the pleats go, and I'll mark them in. So once we've got that, we can now let go and open them out so that we can see where our pleats is, and I'm going to just mark them a bit bolder so that you can see. So that's one pleat, that's another pleat, and that's another pleat in there. So those are your pleats. So once we've got that, we can now cut our shape out. But it's a good idea if you cut your shape at the bottom before you open the pleats, because you know, the shape for the pleats, they do different things. So it's best to cut out. I like to cut out. You can cut it out when you open the pleats, but I like to cut them out while the pleats are folded in position like that. So what I do is just normally cut them out while it's on like that. So I'll just cut out that shape along there while the pleats are folded back. I'll cut out on that the seam allowance so we won't, so we get a nice shape at the bottom. So I just want to show you, when you do that, you'll see that the shape is, for each pleat, they do something. Can you see that? It goes down, up, across, down, up, inside, down, and out. So it's best to cut out like that. So your notches now are, each of these here, that's a notch. You put a notch there because that is your pleat. You put a notch there, a notch there, and a notch there. So those are your pleat. And you must remember that they go towards the back that way. So if I was you, I'd put an arrow so you know you don't get them wrong. They're going that way towards the back like that. So that's how you arrive at your pleats, and that's the mark for where you put your slit, because we're going to have a piece of fabric on the bias where we're going to stitch that out so it's neat. And then our cuff comes from there all the way around, go right round, and it comes back to that point there. So once you've got that, now you can now add your seam allowance on. So I'm going to add the centimetre down here like that, and I'm going to add the centimetre. This is now your underarm seam, that section there, add it on there, and then I'm going to add it around the armhole. This is your arm sleeves of the seam of your arm hole, and this is that's the back, and this is the front. You add your centimetre all the way down like that, and on this section we're going to fold on that line at the top, because this is the section where your cawl is. But before we cut it out, we fold on that line because we have to have a facing at the back of that. But I'll just cut this out so that you can see. We're going to cut along this line here with your seam allowance, along there around your armhole where it goes out like that. And we're going to come along here under the arm, and then we do the other side the same, around the head of your sleeve on the arm, under the arm we go here, and then we can open up that section. This is what we've got left here, and we just add our seam allowance on the top where it folds back for our cowl neckline. You add enough, 2 inches, or you can add a bit more, 1.5 inches, but nothing less. And then you cut out that piece here, cut that off. So that is your facing for your sleeve, the cowl at the top. So that goes back in there like that. That goes to there like that, and that drops down, giving you your first cowl, and then you get another one, and these are your tucks. going towards the back, and then we just make the pattern for the cuff. So that's what your pattern looks like for your sleeve that we have posted the pictures for. So once you've done that, you've just got to just put a slit up the back here, because that is the opening for where your cuff is going to come. And now this is your, going to keep this as your grain line here. This line is your grain line, and we're going to cut 2 of those, and then all we do is we make the cuff. So that is your sleeve, and that we're going to make a cuff. We're going to fold it, get a piece of paper, and we fold it. So we've got the fold edge here, and we're just going to make this the cuff, whatever your cuff measurement is, whether it's 11 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches. We're going to make the cuff 2 inches, 2 inches wide, the cuff, and we're going to measure it and make it, if it's 11 inches, we make it 11. If it's 11, we make it 11 inches, the cuff, and we just measure out and we square a line up, and we make it the 2 inches out. We connect up the line like that. There's your cuff, and we just add the seam allowance on the cuff. Got to go back a bit because there's a bit missing underneath. Make sure you have enough space to add your seam allowance, and we just extend that line out a bit and we square that down, and then we add seam allowance on the end of the cuff, 1/4 inch seam allowance here, because you only need 1/4 on the end of the cuff and 1/4 on this end of your cuff. And then we're going to have 1 centimeter to attach the cuff to the sleeve. So we put 1 centimeter on the top here, top edge of the cuff, and that is your cuff. And then we cut out on that line, and then once we cut out on that line there like that, that is your cuff. We cut out on your seam line the amount that you've drawn for your cuff. So now that is your cuff piece, and you're going to cut 1 of those, or 2 of those, because we've got two sleeves, and we can use a grain line going that way, or we can use a grain line going that way. It depends on how you lay out on your fabric. And we're going to cut 2 of those and 1 fuse. Cut 2, and we can cut 1 fuse and we cut it in the middle, or we just if we use the whole fuse for the cuff, it makes it even nice and firm. So I'd write on there, cut 2 in the fabric plus 2 fuse. Okay, so those are your sleeve pattern pieces finished, and that's what they look like when they finish, all ready for cutting out. So we're going to have a notch there and a notch there. Let me just put that in here. So we want a notch there, a notch here, and a notch on the armhole, so that we can match them up when we put them in. So that's indication 2 for the back and 1 for the front. So that is your sleeve, and then that's how that is joined together. So you put your pleats in on there like that. Your sleeve go in. That's your slit. That's your cuff, and it goes on to to your sleeve. So those are the pattern pieces that you need, and that's the body bits on there. That's your body. I'll just bring that so you can see the two bits. So that's your body. You're going to cut two of these if you want to try it out before you actually do it in your own garment using your block. And that's, you're going to cut one of those because that's on the fold, that's the front. So those are your pieces to do your cowl sleeve with the tucks or pleats in the cuff. So those are the pieces that we need, require. So then you have to check your armholes that they fit into your sleeve. So if that is the back, this has got to go to fit into there like that, and it comes right up to the top there. And the same thing on the front, it fits into here like this. You can put your balance mark in and it fits into there. You've got to check to make sure that they fit. So those are your pattern pieces for your cowl sleeve. So hope you'll find that interesting. And you've got to remember, I've got to show you that piece as well. That's how we arrive at your cowl. That piece there where we slash it through there, put in for your cowl, then we mark around, then we slash up to get the tucks in for your cuff. So that's how you make that. So if you get stuck, you can send me a message, inbox me, and I'll help you through this. But basically that's how we arrive at our sleeve for the cowl sleeve with the tucks at the cuff. Have a good day. Please be trying this. You'll find it very rewarding. Bye. Bye for now.